Hey guys, welcome to another day on the shop. Today is Tool Tuesday, and you kind of see what we're going to talk about. Yep. Not the Jeep, but the Arccaptain. Let's get into it. So this is the Arccaptain Cut50. It is a lightweight at 13 pounds plasma cutter with a built-in regulator in the back. Comes with a push lock air fitting that goes back here. I changed mine out to an air chuck for ease of use for my application. You got 3 different sections right here for your hoses and ground. You got 2 indicators here for operation mode and preference. And then you got your dial indicator here for your amperage. Also in here is a 10-foot grounding cable, a 16-foot cutting torch, and a 220 to 110 adapter. So yes, this thing works on 220 and 110. It is absolutely awesome for either a hobbyist or someone that likes to dabble in metal. I love it. I've been using it. I just switched cups out, so because like I said, I'm using it. I'm running through this thing as much as I can. I've got a lot of metal I like to cut, and this is performing extremely well. So let's get into hooking this thing up. All right, so to hook this thing up, you have your ground cable. It has a little tab right there. If you can see it, comes right here. Put it in here, in the tab, and turn it. Ground cable is hooked up. Your torch setup. It's got 2 cables. It's got one for air and one for the on-off for the trigger. The on-off for the trigger has a little slot right there. It goes in a certain way. So you get it in there, and it snaps in. It does not pull out. Then you got your air hose. It just twists on. All right, now it's set up for 110 use. The power is right here, like it shows, 110, 220, on, off. All right, so this thing has a little bit of protection with it. It comes with overheat protection, overcurrent and overload, and overvoltage protection. So as you're using it, if you push it to its limit, it will turn off and save itself before you end up burning the whole machine up, which is good because, I mean, you paid for it, might as well use it to its capacity and let it work its way down. It does have a usage per amount of time for the thickness of metal you're using, as well as if you're using 220 or 110. So you have to keep all that in mind. So let's look at it a little bit more. Well, it's plugged in for 110. The lowest it goes is 20 amps. Shows your current, has your operational preference, T2, T4, preferences, post gas, 10 seconds. We can turn that up if we want. Current, so you have a couple of different things. So you can turn that up to 15, all the way down to 5. I like it at 10. Cools down your tips, your consumables. So this goes all the way up to 35 on 110 and all the way down to 20. Well, on 110, it says you shouldn't cut any more than 10 millimeters, which I'm not sure what that is, and standard. But I know on 220, they state that it cuts 1/2 inch cleanly and up to 3/4, and 3/4 won't be too clean because you need a lot of air pressure and a lot of voltage and a lot of amps for that, but you could probably cut it. I don't have any 3/4 here. I have 1 inch, but I don't think I'm going to try that. We've got a lot of different metals and a lot of different as of thicknesses. I have mostly mild steel. I don't have a whole lot of aluminum, but it should cut both pretty simply. And like I said, on 110, it cuts pretty good thickness. It'll cut over 1/4 inch. So for a hobbyist, that works great. Getting over that, it'll keep on cutting. I normally use it on 220, and it gives me absolutely 0 issues. So we're going to try a couple tests with this. All right, so out in my yard, got some thick pipe, which is about 1/4 inch, if not a little bit more. Found a 3/4 inch. almost, I guess it's 3/4 or half. It looks like half. And then have the Z pearl in here, super duper thin. So I'll measure these up and give you the readings on each one as I'm cutting them, and we'll see how this works. I have it set up for 110 right now, but we can always change it to 220. The thicker stuff, I prefer 220 because it just makes it easier. And I can put it at 50 amps, no issues. 35 amps, that works, but 50 amps is always better. So, here's a plate I've already cut before on 50 amps at 220, and as you see, this 1/4 inch plate, it pretty much, yep, it works. Worked out great for what I needed it for. So let's measure these up real quick, and yeah, we'll hook this thing up and start throwing down some sparks. All right, for this first one, we're in inches. All right, that's 0.227. All right, the second one, let's get a good accurate reading on this. This is right at 1/2 inch, 0.521. And then come over to the Z purling and measure it up. It's 0.09. So we're going to go with that. We're going to cut these on 110 at first, and then if it doesn't cut through the 1/2 inch, we'll go to 220. Alright, my settings are 20 amps, and I've got my airflow post the cut at 10 seconds. That's what I like to use. I could ramp it up because I do use this a lot, especially with thicker metals, and these things get pretty hot. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come across right here and cut this little piece off that I don't need anymore and just straighten this out. And yeah, 20 amps should be plenty for it at 110. So let's get to cutting. All right, you still here? Well, all right, there, the air cut off. All right, take a look at that. That's a pretty nice cut. Not a whole lot of slag, and that's at 20 amps. There's more slag on here. Not as much slag on here. But yeah, that's not the thickest metal in the world. It's some of the thinnest I have, and I do have a little bit thinner, but there's no point. You use shears for it. I mean, it's too thin for cutting with this stuff. So let's move up to the 1/4 inch and cut it at 110 and see how it does. Like I said, we're at 20 amps right now. I need to ramp it up, and I'll probably see how it does at about 25 to 30 amps, and then if it gets to where we aren't cutting, then I'll jump it up to 35, and if that doesn't cut it, which it should, we'll bump it up to 220. So let's do that. All right, this is a 1/4 inch, which y'all can't really see. Let's bump y'all up. There you go. 1/4 inch at 25 amps. So let's see how this works. 25 amps, and me not going slow enough. As you see, it blows through, but it doesn't cut as easily. Not at 25 amps and 110. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw that on the ground. I'm going to ramp it up. So let's get to a higher amperage, and it'll probably be 30. Try that, and if it doesn't work, we'll go to 35. Alright, this cut was a lot better, as you see. I'm just kind of going a little bit fast. But yeah, that's at 30 amps. So I bet if I go to 35, it should blow this straight through and I won't have an issue. But like I also said, I'm at 110. So let's bump this up to 35 and see if we can do it. So at 35 amps, I went a whole lot quicker and it cut almost all the way through. It's the very last part that it didn't get. So it actually cut all the way through. You can see on the back side there where it didn't get. So even if I wanted to, I could knock it out like that or finish cutting it. So that's 35 amps at 110. Now we got this 1/2 inch. I don't think it'll do very well on 110, but we're gonna try. $35 amps at 110. It wouldn't even cut all the way through. So let's bump this up to 220 and see how this does. All right, this is at 220 at 45 amps. So let's cut this thing through. All right, so that's 45 amps. As you see, it cuts all the way through. The slag's holding it on, actually. And actually, I have that little bit. If I cut off, it'll probably fall off. But the slag is pretty thick right here. So, there, it fell off. So at 45 volts, or 45 amps, it is a nasty cut, not very clean. But I can ramp it up to 50 and probably blow straight through it. Just for giggles, let's do 220 at 50 amps on 1/2 inch and see how this works. All right, like I said, it's not the prettiest. It cuts through, so it gets the job done. But so if you're a hobbyist or you just like playing with metal a lot, this machine is awesome. I love this little machine. So at 50 amps, that's the current preference. Got 10 seconds post, which I should probably ramp that up since I'm using 220 at 50 amps. I know it does a trigger pulse where you pull the trigger. One pull of the trigger actually takes and starts up the cut, and then at the end of the cut you either lift or you pull the trigger again and it ends your cut cycle. So let's get a summary. Well, summary. For the price, you can't beat this. You can't get enough cutoff wheels on a 7-inch or 4-inch to cut as quick or as cheap as this will cut. You can't get a acetylene torch filled and use it as much as you can use this for the price that you can use this. So these come up under $300. Very good price. Consumables, normally you can get about 20 or so extra consumables for about 20 bucks or so. Extremely affordable. The only downside is with acetylene and the cutoff wheels, you do need an air source. So this plus an air source, it works. I use 30 psi on my plasma and you can't beat this. So if you're interested in this, you got Arccaptain. You can check out the link in the description below. These are spot on machines. You should definitely check them out. I absolutely love it. I am going to compare this to my Yes welder that's in the corner there. You can't really see it right now. It is a 55DS, and we will compare those soon, but not today. So check this out and yeah, get you one. They're very affordable. So until next time.